Nauka! Just say the word and send every engineer running. This Russian space station module is planned to launch in the year 2007, and after a few minor delays, it took to the skies in 2021. Better late than never, right? But where did the wretched multi-purpose laboratory module come from? Where did everything go so wrong? It's the 1990s. Space shuttles are shuttling, Soyuzes are Soyuzing, and America has just teamed up with their best friends in Russia to build a brand new international space station. The launch of the first module, Zarya, is coming up soon, and it has to go perfectly. Just to be safe, they start working on a backup module too. Zarya launches in one piece though, so the backup will not be needed to save the day. Okay, hear me out on this. What if we launched the backup anyways? Great idea! I'm sure this will be done in absolutely no time, for a reasonable price, without any major technical malfunctions that endanger the safety of the entire space station. They're going to get right to work, but first, they need to know what the module will do. After careful consideration, they decide to make it a science module. They give it a fancy name too, Nauka, which is Russian for science. This will be easy. So easy in fact, that the launch date is planned for just a few years later, 2007. So anyways, it's 2012, and Nauka's manufacturer is making great progress. By the end of the year, the module is ready to be shipped off for testing. The launch date now, 2014. I'm sure that won't ever change. Testing begins right away. Things go well at first, but then they find a dreaded leaky valve. What valve, you ask? This valve. Why is it leaking? Tiny metal particles, which really mess with the valve that's supposed to be completely sterile. Whatever, we can replace the valve. Just keep testing. So testing continues. Only that issue with metal particles in the valve, it turns out that the entire highly sensitive propulsion system is filled with them. We'll need to do one hell of a repair to get it working again. At this point, that 2014 launch date is sailing right off into the sunset, never to be seen again. Okay, how did this get screwed up so badly? Well, when workers were sawing off old parts from the module's Zarya backup days, no one really kept track of where the dust was going. They sawed things off and metal went right into the completely sterile propulsion system. One wild rumor out there is that the workers thought the entire thing was being cut up for scrap. Just lovely. So, now what? Fix it, you dumb fuck! It's 2017 and the mess of tubes has morphed back into a propulsion system. Phew, glad we got that sorted out. Oh wait, whoops, turns out it's still just a bunch of pipes and stuff. Yeah, those propellant tanks, not exactly fixed. They're still super contaminated with those metal particles. Fixing them isn't really an option, neither is building new ones. The originals were built decades ago in a factory that literally doesn't exist anymore. Swapping them out with other tanks would be pretty difficult too, because they were specially designed just for Nauka. So they weigh their options. Between tanks sticking out of the payload fairing and tanks that run out of fuel halfway to the space station, they don't have many great choices. Eventually, they just decide to match some old leftover tanks together and call it a day. But wait just one moment. It turns out that these tanks, which are replacements for the contaminated tanks, might also be contaminated. So some tests are run, revealing these same metal particles in every single tank. Everyone is getting very annoyed by now, to the point that officials just want to fly with the contaminated tanks anyway. Engineers respond with a quick no. At this point, there's only one thing left to do: repair the damn tanks. And well, by late 2019, they do. In February of 2020, the Proton rocket that'll climb uphill with Nauka on board is shipped to the launch site in Baikonur. May of 2021 is the target, and things are looking good. And then, you know what happens. Despite the fun everyone's having doing jack shit in 2020, teams still managed to have Nauka shipped off to the launch site by August. Now the real fun can begin. By September, cargo loading is underway, along with final testing. One minor slip to July later, and final integration is wrapping up. On June 28th, the module is enclosed inside the payload fairing. This is it. It's finally ready to launch. Or it would have been if they hadn't completely forgotten to install insulation covers on a whole bunch of super sensitive equipment. Let's just pretend we didn't see that. Now this is it. On July 17th, the rocket rolls out to the launch pad. Days later, Nauka and Proton systems are fired up for one final launch dress rehearsal. The launch date is set for July 21st, and the clock starts ticking down. We're in orbit? We did it? Hell yeah! Suck it, Elon Musk. Nauka, more like awesome, Sir, the entire propulsion system is offline. Ah, well, you see... Shit. With no propulsion system, the clock is ticking. At its current height, the atmosphere is still thick enough to provide some drag, so it has a few days at most before it's slowed down and falls right back onto this miserable rock. Wild speculation ensues about what happened, but the real answer is a bit more boring. Are you a spacecraft in orbit that wants to move around and not fucking die? Well, have I got the solution for you. A 100% foolproof propulsion system. Use high pressure tanks to turn that attitude around. I'm definitely not insane. Want to fucking get somewhere? Low pressure fuel will get that main engine a running and you'll be on your way to intersecting the American spy satellite in the $160 billion trash heap. Haha, whoops, looks like a software error occurred. I guess the low pressure system is high pressure now. I'm sure it's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. Don't check. It's fine. So, armed with this knowledge, a solution is formed. They'll use the high pressure system to carry out the initial orbit raising maneuvers, which would lower the pressure of the main tanks. Then the main engine could take over and do the rest. So, that's what they do. The less efficient high pressure system uses a lot more of Nauka's fuel though, so the margins for docking are slim. They have one shot to get this right. Phew, the risky part's over. What's that? Oh, the space station is spinning. 3 hours after docking, ISS flight computers notice a deviation from the normal orientation. The reason? Nauka has just turned its engines back on. Mission Control jumps into action and declares a loss of attitude emergency. They need to figure out what's going on, and fast. The ISS immediately gets top priority through NASA's communication networks, and the first thing that they do is disable the gyroscopes countering their rotation. They do not want to stress a structure that was definitely not designed to be flipped around. If this keeps up, who knows what could happen. For all NASA knows, the solar rays might start flying off. As part of the emergency procedure, the windows are shuttered, just in case. Next, emergency control of the station is given to Zvezda, which is responsible for space station propulsion, soon after being handed over to a Progress resupply vehicle. At this point, the ISS is rotating at a half a degree per second. Not enough for it to be obvious to the crew, but definitely enough to worry Mission Control. Neither Mission Control in Houston or Moscow have a way to turn off the engines, because the module can only receive commands from Russian ground stations, which it won't be over for more than an hour. And then, after about 15 long minutes, the engines finally go silent. Within 45 minutes of the event beginning, control of the space station is regained. Well, that was one heck of an hour. So why the hell did that happen? Well, Nauka, which at this point was very much attached to the space station, randomly decided, nope, still docking. And logically, it was freaked out by the million-pound space station that it was attached to. And why did it suddenly decide that it was docking again? A faulty command sent from Mission Control in Russia, apparently. Only the finest here in Russia. In the end, the ISS did 1.5 full rotations. Not quite as dramatic as some may have led you to believe, but it's still something you don't exactly want your $160 billion space station to do at random. The next day, integrating Nauka with the station begins. Kinda boring, not gonna lie. Ooh, connecting power cables. Fun. New plumbing? No way. I mean, everything's done now, basically. Except for when a Soyuz docked to Nauka in October fired its engines at totally the wrong time. Let's go for another spin, fuckers! Really? 10 minutes later and the space station is back under control. Not exactly Nauka's fault either this time around. Wow, Nauka sure has had a troubled tale.